Hi everyone, I'm Kris and I'm your Cardvoyant, and I am back again with another reading video. And this particular reading is with Andrew. We decided to have a tarot night at my niece's house, but Andrew had never had a reading before. He doesn't know much about tarot, and I think he thought it was kind of, whatever. But by the end of the night, he asked if he could have a past life reading, and this is what you'll see. I think it's interesting. It was very interesting for me. You can see in it that I'm a little bit confused about time period and so forth, but I think it turned out really well. He really enjoyed it, and I hope that you will enjoy it too. And I do appreciate you watching. We'll have some more of these kinds of videos coming up. And please let me know if it's something that you'd like to see more of, or if you have questions or comments. I would appreciate anything that you would like to write. Thanks so much for watching in general, and I hope you'll enjoy this video of Andrew's past life reading. Okay, so past life. Okay, see what we've got here. Okay, so interesting again. And I'll just start talking, and then usually as I start talking, I'll get a feel for like time and place and issues. But I can tell you right now, this is mostly about balance in your life. And the thing that has, okay, I'm just trying to get a feeling for time and place. So what I hear in my head, and I am terrible with this time period because I couldn't even tell you when it is. But the two things that I heard in my head are Copernicus and Galileo. Okay, so I don't know if they're even the same time period, but generally that's the time period we're talking about. And what it is this gift, because these ace cards are always gift cards. And it's for you, it's about a gift of intellect. This is very much about intelligence and intellect and science and trying to figure things out. I mean, I keep hearing or seeing or thinking of stars. So it's about somehow, it's very mathematical, and it's trying to figure out like how things in the universe related to the stars, if that makes sense. But it was just at this time period, this one particular life that I'm talking about, where I heard like Copernicus, that's the bigger one. It was like this this fascination, like this is a male, so as a boy, with just the stars and all things like that, navigation, celestial navigation, all those kinds of things that grew into an absolute obsession as an adult. And it was just what you devoted all of your time to, at the expense pretty much of everything else in your life. You accomplished a great deal in that field, in this mathematical kind of field. But there was the lack of, this is the one major arcana card you have, and it's Temperance, and that is again about balance. And it's not only about balance in your life, like family, home, because this science part of you, this quest to figure out these universal questions, kind of, but they're very physical questions. You did so at the expense of everything else. family and even friends, anything like that, even like food, like almost to the point of like forgetting to eat because you're just like, so I'm working on this thing, I can't take time for that. And so it was a lack of balance. And it was such a lack of balance that what you failed to calculate in your calculations was the spiritual side of things. Now, at that time, it wasn't a big, there was this feeling generally of, yes, there's science, but it's because of God that there is science. But for you, that wasn't true. It was more, no, this is just about science. This is about equations. This is about mathematically figuring out how the universe is working and how it relates to the earth, and so there was this like your life was very much out of balance. And like I said, you accomplished a lot, and yet they were all accomplishments that lacked a certain something. And that was the sort of non-physical world part of it. Now, ever since that time, in subsequent lifetimes, there have been lifetimes where you worked kind of on other things, but in large part, it's been trying to find that balance, trying to work in different lifetimes toward achieving that balance. I don't think there was ever a lifetime when you came in willing to forego intelligence. It's such a part of your soul self, this quest for just understanding the physicalness of the density of the physical world. That having been said, you get the 9 of clubs, and this is all about creativity. It's about passion projects, that you love. It's about accomplishing things. It feels like you've had lifetimes where you've just accomplished and accomplished and accomplished, but you start out sort of thinking one way, and then it will sort of veer off into, almost like an obsession with this certain thing, a certain project or a certain idea, or even like a very narrow thing, almost like one equation or one question about the universe, or about even things like soil or the earth, just these very specific things. So you come into life curious about everything, and then it gets to this point where it gets narrowed down at the expense of other things. And most often that's why you get this Page of Cups, because cups are about emotion and love, and often about family and those kinds of things. But page cards are about when you want something, the beginning of something. It's one of those things that can grow, but you have to put the effort behind it. And this has been a pattern, is that you start out thinking, okay, I'm gonna do this. I've met this this woman, or this, I have this thing that I want to do that's much more about love and family and stuff like that. But you don't quite follow through, because this is other lifetimes. You haven't quite followed through because you're so curious about so many things that it's hard to deny that curiosity and that intellectualism, that intellectual part of yourself. That's why this Ace of Swords that I talked about, the intellect, that's why it comes at the top. That's of the whole reading. So then you've got these cards down here, and I feel like these are kind of messages about, because you asked about how it informs this life. And so these are messages to help you understand how the things that you can do to finally sort of get past this hurdle and to have a more a life that's more in balance. Because what happens, again, this Four of Cups, which we had with, I don't know, somebody else had the Four of Cups, you. And so it's this idea of seeing things as empty, like it's often about relationships and things like that. And you feel like, oh, they're lost, or I've lost this, or I've lost that, even while you are being gifted this cup, this love. So you're noticing the loss. But for you, what this is about is this fear of losing the passion in your life, this intellectual part of yourself, and sort of giving it up to family and home and friends and stuff like that. And so you've come into this life gifted with the same intellectual curiosity and intellect in general, and what you are trying to accomplish in this life, and actually what you've made just like so many strides in this lifetime, is being able to see that those cups are only worth something when you have, the cups of intellect are only worth something when you also have the cups that are family and friends and those kinds of things. And this coins card is very much about that as well. And these are both 4 cards, and they're sort of like the beginnings of things, and that's how this life has been for you. It's like a new chapter, the beginnings of this. And the 4 of coins, they call it the miser card because it's like people who like hold on to miserly things. So this is about 2 things for you. It's about that idea of holding too fast to things. Again, it's not that you have like an OCD personality, but you do have a tendency to get really fixated on things, like on a project, or if you are looking for, let's say you're buying a house, you're all in, like I'm doing the research and I'm figuring this out, and then I know exactly what I want and that kind of things. And that's what this is talking about. It's more about being guarded in everything, not being too free with everything. And that's a part of, it's like a vestige of when you were so consumed by just the intellectual. Because in a way, by not giving up those reins, or by sort of, I keep saying the word obsessing, and that's a little bit too harsh, but by devoting so much time to these specific pursuits, it doesn't allow you to be, it keeps you tense. It keeps you a little bit tense all the time. And the one way that you have, or that you are learning that you have in this life to let go of that, is in relationship building. And this lifetime has been a massive turnaround in other lifetimes where you have come to recognize that and sort of give yourself over to that, and yet you still at times revert back to that
old tendencies.
Yeah, and it's almost a tendency to sort of shut yourself away, in that when it's kind of like, I'm thinking of this now, so I'm thinking of this, or I have to figure this out, so just let me figure this out. And the one step that you have yet to, or that you're still working on, is to acknowledge, to say this 2 of coins, which is somebody help me. So there's somebody that I can trust that can help me, which I'll just say. But the 2 of coins is about, but it is about that balance of, in other cards, there's an infinity symbol around the 2 of coins, and that's this idea sort of soulmates, about like eternal relationships. And that's the big, huge stride that you are taking in this lifetime, but that you need to fully give yourself over to, in that you let somebody share those burdens, or you let somebody in enough that you trust, not only as like a partner, but also as an intellectual equal, so that you can say, I trust you to help me figure this out. Because honestly, in like this original life that I was talking about so long ago, there were very few people who were your intellectual equal, almost no one. Especially people who wouldn't be like, oh, let's try the leeches, people that were truly sort of free intellectually in the way that you were. And so you really developed you know, that lack of trust in other people because there just weren't there. But they've become more and more, and as you've slowly over lifetimes let more and more people in, you've gotten to the point where you are in this lifetime where you are willing to do that. You know, you're seeing the possibility of doing that, and now it's up to you to completely open that door. And that's the challenge of this lifetime, that it honestly feels like you're well on the way to becoming, because you're much more open just to people and relationships in general, relationships with people, but you still have a little bit of that tendency to
revert.
Well, to shut people out a little bit because you know that they're not your, I don't want to say intellectual equal. I mean, that sounds very snobbish, but it's true. I mean, you know that you can, there's a lot of people that you're going to say things to and they're just not going to get it, you know? But you, because you have found someone and because you're being more open to that, it's like incumbent upon you in this lifetime to fully open that door and just sort of let go of the tension that's associated with allowing people in that way, you know, in sort of always emotionally and sort of spiritually and intellectually especially. Well, there you have it, Andrew's past life video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting. If you did, please subscribe. Please ring the bell if you want notifications. Tell your friends, tell your family. Come back again. That's the main thing. Please come back again. Learn more about tarot. I will be posting the tutorials for the Cups cards very soon. And we'll get through that, and then we're done with those tutorials, and we'll start on some more kind of advanced stuff. And we'll have more of these kinds of videos as well. So until then, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kris, and I'm your Cardvoyant. And until next time, bye.